Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the We Know Traitors podcast over here on RHAP. I am your host, holding the exact same replica of the exact same Traitors thing from the chess thing. It's me. This is my award, the Duke of Deception, Pooya and Annabel, ready to break things down once again with the one and only, the best detective in all the land, the number one faithful in our hearts, Annabel, back at it again. Annabel, how you doing?
I'm in mourning. I am in mourning. What happened? What did I just watch? I'm not going to lie. I cried a little bit at the end of episode 6. Oof. Oof. Pooya. The vibes were down this week. I'm still enjoying it, but the vibes were down.
First of all, it's been a massacre. Second of all, I really do feel like, and this might be a hot take, it might be an undercooked take. I may not have thought about it enough, but my personal feeling is that this is the first time in a while where I feel like the faithful have it figured out, but they keep finding new ways to not figure it out. Like, it's frustrating because they're doing some of the most nuanced detective work that we've ever seen on any franchise, and then they're proceeding to pin it on the exact wrong people. It's kind of impressive.
It is impressive. You're so right. That is what is uniquely frustrating about it, because it's not that they're dumb faithful. They're thinking about it. They're really invested in the game. And it just keeps going wrong for no explicable reason. Though, Pooya, I've got to say, they might be getting it wrong, but we were so right. Our predictions last week on the money.
Tell them.
We got a Charlotte murder. We got a Mark banishment. And oh my God, wasn't he depressed about that? And you said if Jonathan doesn't go in the first episode, he ain't going out in the second one. And you were so right, because it was woof woof, the other big dog, my granddad, Stephen Fry.
Yep. And now look at us. We're left with the final 9. All 3 traitors still intact. They literally could choose to run it together if they want to. They're very close to that outcome, truly, because even with the group of people we're left here, Annabel, there's still people that people are looking at. There's still people that people are calling out and sus of. The only unfortunate situation here is that maybe the loudest culprit of them all is safe for the traitors, but I would argue that Joe Marler has put so much heat on himself already that he might go next time, just because Lucy's like, you're switching up at the round table. Why are you being this way? Relax.
Yeah, Joe got in a real sulk in that last episode after the love of his life, the other Joe, was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And he was getting a little short and snippy. I tell you what, that is what was most interesting about this week. All of that celebrity, I'm here to play nicey and put my best face forward, slipped. The mask slipped. Real emotions were coming out. People were getting genuinely shitty with each other. And I thought some actual conflict, real conflict.
I think so too. And I think a lot of it began with the burial of Mark, who, through no fault of his own, but his acting career, I think, got a lot of heat. And I think a lot of also, I want to give credit to Joe Rugby here, because, again, his very loud and very wrong pushing of the wrong, like, it's so infuriating to have Jonathan's name ready and then be like, I'm going to pocket that, and then I'm going to rattle the cage of every faithful that is left in the castle for some reason, because he really takes it to Mark. I think a lot of other people then also ride onto the Mark bandwagon there. David's getting sideswiped because David's crime of existing is coming to roost. They were ready to invoice him for it. Annabel, in these 2 episodes, we also got the age-old answer of what happens if we are deadlocked in a tie. We finally have that. We have that answer.
Yeah, it was great getting your voice messages as you were listening to that in real time, this morning.
God. Oh my God. I was losing it watching. I was like, oh, what do you mean no one went home? What do you mean we're deadlocked? How is this happening then? And like, in that voicemail, the voice note that I sent you, they named 6 people at that round table. None of them were traitors as suspects. They named 6 faithfuls, and there were 12 of them. Like, it was looking rough from that round table.
Yeah. And I think the thing about the deadlocked vote And it was great to see it. So we found out it was a tie between Mark and David. They couldn't break the tie, so they end up randomly selecting a box, and the one without a shield goes home. I think what made it less compelling for me, I like
Mhm.
by it in the way I thought I would be if this ever happened, because they're both faithful. And
Mm.
neither of them were getting anywhere near close finding a traitor. So even though I felt really sorry for Mark because he was so defeated, I said it last week. I was like, I don't think he has it in him to fight anymore. It would be a mercy kill. And I was kind of like, it doesn't really matter who goes here. You're both screwed. You're all screwed.
Hmm. Yeah, this wasn't a very dramatic ending or climax because of that, because I feel like these were two people that were going to just be like, all right, whatever. Like, you weren't going to get heat. You weren't going to get anger there. Even the people that kind of would have felt a little guilty about Mark don't feel that guilty about Mark. Like, I'd be like, they had somehow justified that. No, it's fine. Like, whatever. So then, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if it was between Mark and Jonathan, I'd have been on the edge of my seat. But Mark, while we're still there talking about that tiebreaker, yes, Joe Marler, Rugby Joe, was the one pushing for him all day. But when it came down to it, and we know how flaky they are, we know that the rest of them love switching up their vote at the table.
Yes.
The best Mark could give as an argument was, well, I wanted to be a faithful. I would be a bad traitor, which was piss weak, versus David, who I actually thought made a very compelling pitch as to why it made no sense for him to behave the way he was currently behaving if he was a traitor.
Yeah, I think the only counter to David's behavior would be, well, if everything's going right for you as a trader, why change up? Stay quiet at that point. But no one's bringing that up, and I think it's very compelling because, hey, all of the wrong decisions we've made have been because people have been steering it that way, and I've not steered shit. So you can't look at me as a prime suspect because I've not done anything. And like, not for nothing, I feel like people need to understand also that if there is a very vocal traitor amongst you operating, they're not going to let the other traders just quietly get away with things for free. They will start throwing their names out there. There will be a little bit more suspicion on them. I say this even though it looks like Kat's playing a very low-key game, and they're letting her do that also. But that's more to
Yeah.
talk about with the conclave later.
Yeah. Two strategies I think we really need to unpack today, because Nick came out, I think, having previously not seen much of him. We need to talk about Nick and his guardian angel strategy he's following. And then we need to
Mhm.
talk about Rugby Joe and the kind of Michael John of it all, where he's trying to use Jonathan, who he's sure is a traitor, to uncover who the other traitors are, which means not targeting Jonathan at these stage. So I think
Yeah.
we need to discuss the pros and cons of those two strategies and how they're using them.
Okay, so let's go with Joe first because I feel like his is a little more straightforward, where he does say, I think Jonathan is one. I think he's the head of the snake, but I won't go for him because I think he's more susceptible to throw out another traitor. So, he's like, okay, Jonathan's capable of traitor on traitor crime. We can use that to fish out the other ones that we don't know of. The problem I have with that strat is twofold. Number one, you've already thrown his name out very vocally. So that strategy kind of doesn't go anywhere all that much. Number two, you have clearly decided that you know who the traitors are outside of Jonathan. It's not like he's your only lead. You're like, yes, Jonathan, and it's Mark. We need to get Mark out. And that's not helpful. Because I think there's only so much social capital you may have as the one of the more vocal sounds at the roundtable, Annabelle, where you blew your load now on Mark. No one's going to give you the credibility. We, in fact, saw this like last episode where a lot of what Joe's been doing is now falling on deaf ears, and it's kind of turning people off at the idea of voting with him. So that's not a good spot to be in. I think having the cushion of Joe Wilkinson there, having some other vocal people was helping Joe. Now that he's like, enough is enough, we need to fight these traitors. People are like, yeah, but who elected you our loud king? And also, he's not keeping the same energy clearly outside of the roundtable. He's like coming for blood at the round table, but then being like soft outside. And I don't think people are liking that inconsistency either. So it's kind of it's a sound thought. It's a sound thought exercise of, I know who this person is. Let me keep him in my pocket because they'll find me the others. Yeah, but you've already vocalized that you think it's either him or Stephen Fry. Once Stephen Fry goes, Jonathan knows you're going to come after him. Like, that's not, you're not hiding at that point, you know?
No. So like in that, as you're saying, because he's come after him, what you're getting at here is it's increasing his own likelihood of being murdered, right?
Yes.
So so that decreases his likelihood of winning if he's increasing his likelihood of being murdered. I will also suggest, also because he's decided it's Mark, that means he's not actually looking at the evidence that Jonathan is giving him. And I would also argue, even though we know that Jonathan is a traitor, because he's not voted Jonathan out and got that confirmation either way, he doesn't know that Jonathan is definitely a traitor, and therefore any evidence he's gathering has to have an asterisk over it. The one thing that he did, which if he's known for days, he should have done before now, was ask and confront Jonathan. I think he does this in episode 6, and he says to him straight up, okay, well, who do you trust? Who is a traitor? Who are you sure is a faithful? And Jonathan says, I'm only sure that Kat and Nick aren't traitors. Now, that should narrow it down. He's not going to exclusively pick traitors there, but that should give you some indication of at least one person he's looking to protect and why is he looking to protect them. So I think he should have been gunning for Jonathan for all the reasons that you've just said. And you know, catching a traitor is the easiest way to identify other traitors. When you throw under Jonathan and get him out, who voted for him, who didn't vote for him? What did Jonathan say when he was really facing the gunpoint? So oh, great, you've woken up and decided you're finally ready to go for him. Where was this energy when your husband was still alive, Joe?
When you had numbers in front of you, when you had opportunity facing you, I think that combined with, if this is a move you want to make, because once Joe Wilkinson is murdered and he's like, all right, Jonathan needs to go, where is the work on Celia, who clearly does not believe Stephen Fry is a traitor? Where is the work on Stephen Fry to be like, I think it's big dogs and I think it's you or him. We need to vote him. Where is all of this work? You're saying Nick is someone you fully believe is a faithful and everyone else does. Where is you and him locking in? We're going to go for Jonathan no matter what, because they still clearly came into this roundtable at a 50-50 mentality, which then the votes split and Jonathan leaves. So sorry, Stephen leaves, not Jonathan. So I feel like there was a lot of work that could have been made. And I feel like the reason I'm bringing this up is because Joe has exhibited himself to be that kind of a player, being very willing to like lead everybody to the vote. So I'm not saying every faithful should do this. I don't think a lot of faithfuls would be motivated by this, but for Joe, I 100% think that's the move, because he's about to confront the man at the round table. What's the point of confronting him if you don't have the backup and you benefit from the fact that you're safe tonight, right? Because you got the safety from the mission, but your days are numbered. And again, I can't stress enough the fact that at the round table, people were turning on him. He could get banished. There's a world where he gets banished. Like, that's not impossible now.
He's got the strategic chops. Like, he's at least got the strategic ideas there. Execution, not fantastic, or the timing, not fantastic, but the strategy's there. But as you say, he's not got the social chops or investing in those relationships, which we know are so important in the Traitors to pull it off. He's got trust with Nick, and he had trust with Joe, but he's not really built any of those other relationships, and he's losing. He's spent all that social capital rallying the troops the last 3 incorrect roundtables, and now when he's like, oh, no, now's the time to go for our surefire traitor, you ain't got no money left.
You cried wolf one too many times. And now you've lost your closest ally. Like, you don't have the backing and the stock that you did earlier. And I think that's the issue. You've let Jonathan get a little too much power here. In fact, because y'all have got no traitors out. Let's say mathematically they assume there's 3, right? Let's say even if they assume there's 2, but I think they probably assume 3. That's kind of like the default number for every franchise at this point. So you're at a final 9 now. There's 3 traitors. None of them are leaving. You're about to lose another person going out this week through murder. There's 8 of you. You're getting eerily close to a 50-50 scenario here. And like, who are your 50-50s? Because Lucy, Kate, Nick, one of them's about to get murdered here. And if it's Nick, Kate and Lucy are like, you've been called out by them. You don't have them. You just pushed out Steven, who Celia was like, he's good. Oh, actually, you didn't do it, but she might not. Like, I don't think there's any saying that he can have any sway on Celia either. And then you're just left with traitors. Like, it's really a bad draw here. I guess he has David, maybe, but I don't think him and David are on great spot right now all that much.
No. He's lost a lot of his power and influence in the game. David kept saying, oh, well, because of the numbers, we can't win now. The traitors turn on each other, first of all. I mean, they might not here because it's for charity, but they tend to do it for their own game. And the numbers are not why I'm worried for the faithful at this point. If you can't even get Jonathan, I just don't know if I can trust you to get Kat and Alan. The only thing working in their favor is that they have tended towards making suboptimal murders, the traitors have. So, as we were concerned they murder Charlotte, even though Charlotte has a lot of heat on her. And we even saw an episode 5 breakfast. People were gearing up to vote for Charlotte that day.
Yeah.
You would think that they, I can see them coming along here and murdering somebody like Kate, who coming along and murdering someone like Nick or Lucy, whereas, Kate has no heat on her. Is what I'm saying making sense? No.
When you say Kate has no heat on her, do you mean like as far as Kate being a traitor?
Yeah, so Lucy, where I'm at is I think here you keep in Nick because people are going to turn on him. And from their perspective, he's on their side. I actually think Lucy and Kate, even though they seem like they're more easy to kind of go along with the swing of things and do whatever you want them to do, nobody thinks that Nick thinks Lucy's a traitor, but no one really believes Lucy and Kate are traitors. I actually think Kate has kind of lost a lot of that heat. Did she even get any votes in these last 2 episodes?
So she did not get it in the last one. The thing is, David was looking at Kate and Steven as 2 suspects. Now Steven leaves as a faithful. So there's a world where he's like, well, I thought you 2 were both bad, so you 2 must be both good. But there's also every bit of chance like, well, that was just Kate controlling Steven. I think also Kate is pointing at Nick now because Nick, for some reason, volunteers that he's through the challenge, which is never a good spot. I think Lucy leaving could be the best shout for them, on the sense that Lucy should be cleared as the most innocent faithful, even though Nick is looking at her as one of his key suspects in his 2 out of 4 correct reads. So I do think Nick staying to get the scrutiny makes sense. I think Kate staying to point at Nick also could make sense. I think it could help that David might be looking at Kate still. There's some options there. Lucy's like take Lucy off the board here and you get a lot of drama still, but I don't even trust that that's what they're going to do. We've talked about how Lucy is going to be in the end game, and that could still certainly happen here given the way they've done the murders and stuff. But I think what's interesting to me is that if they're stupid enough to leave Nick in, that is fascinating to me, because I know Nick has some heat on him, but he also is the most cleared faithful until this point. I think his logic of I wanted to protect the faithfuls has some legs. I think that could definitely work for him, not against him, but it could also backfire. But then I think the biggest thing that he's got going is that he is they might banish him, but also the names he named, he didn't name us, so we should keep him. Because at no point I saw him mention Lucy. I saw him mention Steven. I did not see him mention Kat. I did not see him mention Jonathan. And I think that is good.
He never even publicly mentions Lucy. So he is saying Stephen and Kate to everybody else because he's trying to play a very diversified portfolio Traitors Guardian Angel game.
Which,
the only
bring it back. You said you wanted to talk about his strategy.
I want to talk about that. The first thing, before I start on that, I just want to say the only thing I disagree with you on is Nick being the most cleared faithful. Celia needs to
True.
probably get murdered. She has only ever received a vote from Nick. Like, I don't think anybody thinks Celia is a traitor. And
Mhm.
maybe there's a good chance that she'll end the game with them, but I think she's a rogue vote and she's cleared, and she probably needs to get murdered once she's unshielded. So yeah, okay. Nick tells us that he is certain, as certain can be, that Kat, Jonathan, Lucy are traitors. 2 out of 3, that's pretty good. But he doesn't want to go after them. He wants to suck up to them and make sure they think that he's close with them so that he can cut them at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a pretty good job of doing this. He's in conversations with them many times, reiterates that the only person he's told his suspicions to is Joe Marler. Otherwise, publicly, he's pointing at Stephen and Lucy. What do you think about this?
Okay, so the whole Traitor Angel thing we've talked about, it is a strategy that was great in the early days. And now it is a little bit of a contested one. I think there's benefits to this, right? If you're trying to ride the wave of survival, especially as a very proven faithful, if you can convince the traitors that you do not think they are bad and you think they are faithful and you have an alliance with them, the traitors might be dumb enough to take you to the closer to the end because they're like, well, he's a clear faithful. If he tells people I'm a clear faithful, no one's going to look at me. They're going to try. Like, that's good asset, right? Again, for every reason, Joe Marler's not a good ally because his word is starting to mean less and less. Nick's word, up until he blew his spot up at the roundtable, was meaning more and more. He was building credit. So it's not a bad strategy. The issue I have with it is similar to Joe Marler's thing in the sense that when it's time for you to cut them, where are your votes? That's the issue I have with it. Again, it's a sound choice to avoid being murdered. It is not a sound choice to help getting them banished when the time is right. Because knowing is great and all, but if you can't solve it, it's brutal. It's kind of like those, you know how certain mobile games will have those ads where it's like a puzzle and they've clearly made the video be rage bait because you're like, oh my God, the solve is right there. Why are you not solving it? You're like, damn it, I got to download the app and do it myself. It's a little bit like that where it's like, okay, but if you can't download that app, Nick, you can't fix the puzzle, even though you know how to do it. So that's my big issue with his strategy.
Completely. We have discussed this to death. The problem with the guardian angel, I want to do it again because I'm sure there's loads of people watching Traitors for the first time, and I could almost guarantee all the discussion around this will be nothing but praise for this strategy, which is why I wanted to take the time to really think about it. Like,
yeah.
The flaw with the Traitors Guardian Angel strategy, which I played myself and was its big fan, is that it's impossible to execute when it comes to crunch time. We saw it with Sandra. Like, first of all, can Nick hand on heart say that he is Kat's number one ride or die? I don't think he can. Can he say he's Jonathan's number one ride or die? No, he's got Celia. So,
right.
You have to be that traitor's number one. That traitor has to have the most control in the tower because they need to be able to put their foot down and say, no, I'm keeping Nick. And then once you get to crunch time, you have to have the numbers to get rid of them. And I don't think that he's getting there. He's also in the fatal position where Kat will choose, like, Kat's ride or die is Alan. Kat is going to choose to end the game with Alan still there rather than turn on him with Nick. Anyway, there's just, I don't think he can pull this off. And I can see him ending in the classic, jazz spot, really, where, oh, he was a genius. He knew exactly what was going on. Yeah, but he did nothing. And they cut him in the final episode.
Yeah. And I think that's where the game, it is part detective work, but it's also equal parts social game and rallying votes and having votes ready to chuck people out. I think also safe to say that you're starting to get to a point where recruitment's going to end up being off the table soon. So if you have an inkling on one or two, I mean, come on, Nick, even the best detective ain't going to have all three. And in the event you do, you're on Traitors Island, you're not here. Because it is very hard to have all the traitors down and then again not have any of them out by the final 10. And in this situation, they were so close. They could have gone with Jonathan. They don't. They go Steven, which it is interesting to me because Annabel, I know that this big dog theory has been out there and it's been a 50-50 all along. We are 6 episodes deep. I at no point, at no corner have I seen Steven exhibit a modicum of traitor behavior that Jonathan has. So the fact that he leaves before Jonathan is criminal. If you're doing a 50-50, how did Jonathan not become the first half of that 50-50 vote out?
Jonathan is working overtime. I mean, snaps to him. I was going through what I'd thought about these couple of episodes and going into episode 5, Stephen is there with Joe, Wilkinson, and Celia, and they're feeling down. They're not excited about the thought of voting out Stephen. I mean, Stephen's obviously not excited about it, but sorry, they're not excited about voting out Jonathan. They feel bad about the thought of voting out Jonathan. They're not totally convinced. We find out that Bloody Jonathan has known Charlotte Church since she was 11 years old. This man has been on the scene forever, okay? Like when I say decades long relationships, we're sometimes talking lifelong relationships here. Whereas Stephen's that little bit more aloof, I think. You know, Celia had done a project with him, but not many of the others had. And I just think that Jonathan's really calling in those favors.
Yeah, and it's working. No, it's working. I think he has better connections. I think he's working on those connections more. I mean, Stephen, time and time again, keeps reiterating, we don't need strategy here. That's not really what this is about. That's not going to work here. Those words are nothing. And it's like, but sir, good sir, they are. They actively are. Because, I mean, again, if you are not working towards having an alliance or a strategy, the sad reality is, even if you have a conclave or turret similar to US3 where everyone's after each other, those traitors still get to strategize. They at least get to see each other's playbooks a little bit. And at the very least, they are picking a name to kill together. That is strategy. That is working together. That is having some information on the board. If you are not collabing similarly with faithfuls or even traitors in disguise, you're not flexing that muscle. Meaning when it comes time to try that with somebody new, you might not know what to do or do that. Whereas the traitors have been practicing that a little bit. Now, Steven did snap a little bit when he was like, hey, the traitors don't sleep as much as us. They got to be awake. Kat, you took a nap earlier. What was that about? Which it's so funny because I think Kat's playing a great low-key game, but I feel like Kat's name keeps coming up at roundtables, not as a sus, but as a little bit of like, no, everybody, shh, Kat, what you have to say, because you're not saying anything, or this moment. So it's like a little bit is there. Steven was, I think, a great detective to a certain degree, but it's, again, maybe a little bit like Nick in that being a detective is all fine and good. You cannot win this game solo as a faithful, and you cannot win this with a group of faithful without trying to collaborate with them and, strategize to a certain degree with the ones you really trust.
It's giving me flashbacks to UK too. I'm sure we said it at the time. Like, it's one thing to be a detective, but can you pull the trigger? Have you got the guts and the crew behind you to point the gun and fire? And I just don't think they do. And Stephen didn't. My sister messaged me and said, I just feel like Stephen Fry's more invested in unpacking the mission clues than he is like actually finding out who the traitors are in this game and like facts. Okay. If only he put that brain power to working out who the traitors were rather than agonizing over what Claudia said at the breakfast table.
Yeah, it's a shame because, and I mean, listen, I say it's a shame. At the end of the day, I am looking at this game and criticizing it like it's a full-blown regular game and not like 19 of the biggest names you've ever seen in the UK coming together to play. And Steven certainly, I think, exceeds expectations when we were coming into this not knowing what to expect and was really playing the damn game. But when we're being critical, like we're looking at the things to be critical of. And we're being critical because the level of gameplay has been so high this season. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it comes down to.
I'm being critical because I feel like I am an annoyed mother at the side of a netball field. I am so invested in the faithfuls winning this always. And I'm like, girls, we've been training for this. I know you can win this. Stop fumbling the ball. Get it together. Like Nick and Joe are so competent and so capable of doing this. And I just need them to like, what was Nick doing publicly confessing to throwing Lucy and Kate out for murder, two absolutely essential relationships that he needs if he's going to come up against three traitors? Like, I know he did it because he was so worried for Joe Marler in that moment and felt like this was my piece of evidence to stop Joe Marler getting banished here. Lose Joe Marler, keep the two women. You said some faithful need to be sacrificed. Sacrifice that one.
Yeah. Instead, you jumped on a grenade for somebody who very well could still be on his way out soon because of how vocal he's been. And you blew up any goodwill you had by doing that throw. I think I also I couldn't follow his logic because I hate that he was like, I'm saving as many faithful as possible. And I was like, you're not on that list, bro.
Okay, bro was going, it's statistics. It's statistics. Only one person over there's got any heat. So statistically, the most traitors are on my team. I'm like, well, statistically, you haven't caught a single traitor yet. So who you guys think is not a traitor is probably statistically not the best use case.
And logically, statistically, you are putting yourself in the bigger danger because you're in the smaller number by your logic. That you are in a group of what, maybe 3 faithful that could die if your team goes to hell? Like, why would you do that?
Because he's so confident in his traitor guardian angel strategy. That's why he's
a little too
betting hard on
confident.
that. Yeah. And I'm worried for him. The only thing I'd say is we saw early in the piece that Nick put a lot of early energy into trying to shore up a relationship with Celia. It's not always been great because she suspected him at times. He even voted for her last week. But we haven't seen the fruits of that relationship pay off yet. We haven't seen the end to that storyline, which makes me think he might get away with not being murdered going into this, starting next week. I don't think we open up at breakfast with him gone.
You think he's going to survive?
I think he might survive because I don't think, unless the story ends up being, he thought he could play Traitor Guardian Angel and he flopped on his face. I still think we're going to see something come of his relationship with Celia.
I think so. They don't set that up only for it to go nowhere. Even though I think if I'm a traitor, I think obviously we already talked about it a little bit, but I think Lucy leaving makes the most sense to keep some danger there. But if we are punishing Joe Wilkinson for being someone who can figure us out, I would be petrified at the idea that Nick has solved the puzzle and is so confident that he's throwing like if you have the wherewithal to throw a challenge to keep some people safe and do that, and you're like hard cleared as a faithful, I kind of don't want you there anymore now, because if, again, even though it looks like we have all the power, we're not scared of old Nick, it could still work out. And I don't want to risk that. So I would heavily consider getting rid of him. But I agree with you. I do not think he's leaving here. And I think, again, it helps that he is not one of the vocal Jonathan names being chucked out there. So.
Agreed. And I just think my dream final 6, if I'm one of the traitors, is them, David, Kate, and Celia. Kate and Celia, who are shooting all over the shop, and then David, who you can pin it all on.
David, who's ready to be like that, the one you pin it on, exactly. And then, Celia and Kate still potentially looking at each other, and then y'all have all the power to decide where you're gonna go. It's funny.
At that point, it genuinely doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me because I feel like, given a little bit of the breadcrumbs some of the players have thrown out there, I genuinely still believe we are going to get at least one traitor like taken out of the game, because we've seen Jonathan bring it up, we've seen Alan bring up, Cass brought up the whole idea that they're starting to get hungry for a traitor. And I think that is what you mentioned. There was some drama this episode. I think it's starting to get to them. All the failure is starting to frustrate the hell out of some of these players. So feeding them a little could go a long way. It is interesting because I think in our power ranking, Jonathan has been marked for death for so long now. But like I said, Kat's been getting a little bit of that suspicion thrown at her. But then at the end of the episode, Alan getting a little bit, because Alan, once again, these traitors get a little too comfortable and forget they have a shield and they're safe. And this was not gone unnoticed.
That was messy. That was messy. Jonathan did the same thing to Joe Marler in the very first week. That could be majorly called out. And the thing is, do we back Alan to be able to effectively defend himself? What he's done really well is brush things off, have a giggle, have a laugh. If he's in a confrontation situation at the round table, I think he gets very flustered.
I feel like also they overshowed us confessionals from Alan being like, episode 1, I was sweating it. And here I am now, not giving a damn, just having a grin. I'm stuffing food in my face just to not give away a smile. So it's almost a little too overconfident of Alan now. Whereas initially I was like, his insecurity was making me worried. Now I'm like, you are way too cocky for the fact that your name is now out there a little bit also. So I could see the downfall coming. I still think Kat is my safest of the traitors right now of going home. I think the Alan spike worries me. And I think, again, Jonathan hasn't left yet, but I decreed if he doesn't leave next episode, he's there till the end. So I have to stick to that now. Because, again, Jonathan also survived the 50-50 with Stephen Fry, which I genuinely thought there was no chance once they explore that option that it would be this way. But here we are.
Look, we keep hearing people say that Jonathan would turn on his traitors, and we keep seeing Alan in the room when someone says that, and Alan looking scared. We see Kat start to actually push Jonathan's name at the end of episode 6, and even though they've sprinkled out the idea before that Kat and Alan would turn on Jonathan, I think we're finally getting there. I think episode 1 next week, we see Kat and Alan turn on Jonathan. Alan thinks he has to do it to clear his name after this whole shield debacle. And I think Jonathan goes out.
I think if Jonathan does go, then they murder Joe Marler unless he has a shield right after that as well. Just get him gone at that point. Because now he'll feel like, he's like the most vocal. He could get something out of it. Get him gone. And then you're left with a smaller group, but I think a more I can't say the word navigatable group. I don't think that's the word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, then you're in a more clear path to do well there. And I do think that could be the way. If they truly want to feed the faithful, that's the move. That's the order of operations. So we got 2 missions this week, Annabelle. Very interesting ones. Obviously, we had the chessboard one, which you've seen before, kind of relatively outside of the moment where Nick throws it, straightforward. There was 3 questions. They all knew the answers to all 3. So there wasn't much to talk about there, in my opinion. But that first one was a little bit more interesting, with sacrifices needing to be made, money to be split, and shields to be won.
And it would have been more interesting if before every round they didn't go, so who hasn't had a shield before? Who would like to be the person to get the answer right this time? Get it together, Brits. That's what was so refreshing about seeing Canada. I was like, all right, finally, people who care. No, we got some big reveals here. First of all, Jonathan knowing Charlotte Church, rest in peace, age 11, my God. But the only thing that made me my God even harder was Kat not knowing Dame Judi Dench and Helen Mirren. Please tell me you know who they are, right? Please.
Yes. Of course. Because I usually will not know some actor names, but more so more recently, I will not know. But Kat being like, the only one I know is Rebel Wilson. I was like, really? That's the one you know? Wild.
She's Australian.
She's not even British.
Judi Dench. Anyway, I was oh
my God.
Mark, he was very Scottish in that mission, I thought. He was trapped up in the, in the trap, singing, being Scottish. I
Mhm.
was sad when he went. He was so miserable. All I don't know if you've seen all of the video remixes of him like looking absolutely devastated at the
Miserable?
round table.
No. Oh
So
god.
good.
He wanted to feel something so bad. He's like, "I'll get trapped in this answer anyway." And then that happens, and then everyone's punishing him for that also. Like, "Oh, you wanted to, that was weird. Why did you want to get on that in the trap?" So, defeat.
He
Despair.
he was so despairing. He was so and
Mhm.
like just when we got down to it and it's 50-50 oh, you get the box. You get the box. The man lost the entire will to live. The only
He
other
did.
highlight from the other mission was Celia. Them all being like, okay, so we've got to answer who's two-faced. Someone's gonna be absolutely gutted about this one. Celia's like, oh, I'm very two-faced.
And hell yeah, thank God she volunteered because that is exactly what we told them. And now no one needs to push her name. And yep, it was right. They nailed it. It worked out.
Iconic. What about this twist that we end on? Because we saw this quite recently.
The murder in plain sight, where you turn around and either you see Claudia or you see the traitors. I like this. In the US, when we saw this, it was like at a wedding altar type thing, like set up. This is going to be back at the chessboard with the big ass traitor statue. I enjoy this, especially because I think we have a very fun group of traders for the reveal. Like, I think Alan's going to be very funny. I think Jonathan being there is going to be hilarious. And again, I really don't want it to be Nick because I don't want him to be like, oh, yes, I knew it. No, Nick, I don't want you to get rewarded for that. I want you to stay in the game and maybe try and win that way. So for me, a Kate being there would be fun. If not just for the, oh my God, I had no idea. I was about to come in and throw out Joe, Nick, and David tomorrow. So I want someone who was very, very off the path with them to be the one to get murdered for that reason.
Oh, Kate will ham it up. We know she'll give us more than Chriselle did. What got me excited here, though, was it gave me flashbacks to your main man and the love of my life, Sam Asghari, who pulled the big play where the next morning, obviously, if you got a letter and you survived, you turn around and you saw what Claudia was wearing.
Yes.
Jonathan was in this group as well. So he should have been there, turned around, and saw Claudia. But he's not
Mm-hmm.
going to. It's just going to be the three of them. They're going to murder one of them. And I can see Nick or Joe Marla giving us the Sam Asghari play and saying, Jonathan, what was Claudia wearing last night? And he is not going to be able to answer it. And he's going to go out.
As much as I love that, this season has made me a skeptic because what's going to happen is Nick will be like, Jonathan, what was Claudia wearing? And Jonathan's not going to have much of an answer, but then he's going to spend the rest of the day being like, it's just, I think it's just Nick. I think it's Nick. I think he's trying to trip me up and pin me. He's starting to play aggressive now. It's the end game. And they're like, you know what, Jonathan? Yes, you're right. Nick did do sabotage last night, didn't he? Let's get him gone. Because Jonathan gets what Jonathan wants this season. But that being said, if someone does get the Sam Asghari gambit going, you already know my stand card's ready. Like, I'm going to be very much celebrating that move. But what if it's Lucy?
Oh, we've been manifesting Lucy's come up every week and we're still yet to see it. So, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I could root for that.
I would be very
I'll just tell
happy
you what,
with that.
it's not going to be David and it's not going to be Kate.
No, they're not going to solve that puzzle. I'm sorry. I don't think Celia's going to two and two together there in that situation either. Um,
No.
Unfortunately, it's going to be either Lucy, who I think would be our best candidate to get some stuff brewing here, Joe, who doesn't have a lot of social credit, and Nick, who's about to get invoiced for essentially being the reason a Kate or Lucy is dead if he's still there. Like, he's going to be blamed for that murder. So,
He is.
yeah.
All right.
Is this time for some predictions? Is that where we are?
I think this is time for some predictions. I was just like, is
Yeah.
there anything else I needed to talk about? I don't think there is, and I think my predictions are ready.
I just feel like, I feel like we're at a place where like this 2 episodes were relatively straightforward. It kind of a little bit, and feel free to tell me no. It reminds me a little bit of the run of episodes we got back to back right after your exit from your season, where I was just like, really? Okay. Like I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing here. It's just a little bit of that, not like one for one. I will say, the defense from I feel like Kat immediately put to rest any allegations from Steven by being like, listen, I have ADHD, I have autism. It takes a lot of recharge energy to be in a room full of people. And I was like, yes, that is absolutely true. That is 100% factual. You need the social reset. Not everyone's wired the same. So I was like, that is a brilliant response to that. And I think that should put it to bed, which is why I think Alan's in more danger than Kat is.
Agreed. I think Kat is sitting pretty at this point. Stephen didn't want to touch that hot stove after she went there.
He was like, no further questions, Your Honor. Like, I'm backing up.
And I don't think that Alan would be able to calmly shut anything down. I mean, we saw him. Kate put his name down and he went full spicy at breakfast the next day.
And we just saw people give Joe guff for being spicy. Don't be spicy in this castle now. You might get turned out. Yeah. So,
no. Okay. My predictions here. I think Jonathan wanted to murder Kate before he wants to murder Kate here. Kat and Alan are going to let him shoot himself in the foot. Kate murder, Jonathan banishment. And then I think we're going to get
Joe murder.
Nick murder, Joe banishment.
Oh.
Or it could be a Joe murder and a David banishment. But Joe, okay, maybe I should just set my... Joe does not make it through the end of next week.
Okay.
I think they'll incorrectly choose Kate to murder. And I think Jonathan is the first one gone next week.
Okay. I think they're going to end up murdering Lucy here, which is a mistake. But the traitors have been known this season to make mistakes on the kills and then it work out. I think they're going to see the Kate versus Nick thing as a potential juicy thing to watch out for. So I think they take out Lucy. They keep Nick and Kate in. I think that does gain a little bit of dividends, but ultimately will not work out because I think Joe and Nick fully trust each other. I also agree with you that either Jonathan gets banished or for some reason fucking David gets banished. And that's the only two options I see in that roundtable where these two are like, all right, we made it. Yes, we're here. I trust you. You trust me. Yeah. So David, I could see that happening. So that could be this case, but I'll back you. I'll say, let's go Jonathan for our sanity. Jonathan gets banished. And then I think they pick Joe off here. They're like, you know what? Joe is Joeing too close to the sun. Goodbye now. They keep Nick in, who at this point has his hands tied and cannot do anything about what he knows potentially moving forward. And then again, the Kate Nick thing can get steam, or David can get steam. Celia is also there. And Alan and Kat basically decide, am I running solo or am I running selfish? Because we're also seeing a little bit of confessional game from Kat talking about being selfish. So I could see her trying to go for the gold solo, but I think her and Alan are definitely thick as thieves here. Now, the only bit of prediction I want to put out there and see, do you think anyone's going to pick at and pick up the moment where Jonathan, after Jonathan leaves, in the event that he does leave, do you think anyone's going to pick up the Jonathan named two people as faithful to him? It's Nick and Kat. Do you see anyone looking at that angle, or do you think that was just for us to see and realize no one else is going to pick up on it?
If they do, I think they might point the finger at Nick. My issue, I was just sitting there thinking, who do I, because my gut says a Kat solo win here. But the more I thought about it, in order to pull off a traitor win, solo win, you have to have that faithful who just absolutely blindly believes in you, who thinks there's no way that it's you. I mean, is that person for her Lucy? Is that person for her Joe Marla? Yeah, I just don't know who that person is for her. We see her having conversations with Lucy, but I don't know. We've not seen enough of Lucy blindly believing in Kat for me to be able to see it. Like, from what we see, Kat's closest relationship is with Alan. So I'm almost like, is it a joint Kat Alan win? Even though
I
Alan's
think
getting this heat, I think they're stronger together.
I think the intention could be a I want to ride with Alan, and then Alan gets taken out, and she has to pile on because it'd be like a 4-2 disadvantage essentially, or like it would not be they wouldn't have the votes. I could see that being the
No.
way they go out because I agree with you. I think the number one ally for Kat currently is Alan. I think everyone else, as far as what we've seen, we have not seen enough of the relationships and bonds she's making with other people for me to think that she should go with somebody else currently. I think for her the best shot is Alan, and I think that, you know, Nick is looking at her sideways. That's not a good spot to be in. I think that, yeah, I think ride with Alan until the wheels come off, and then if he has to go, he has to go. Otherwise, you'll be fine. Like, I do think that, again, Kat's path to the end might be the best path to the end currently as a traitor. And I think any movement on Alan would be just doing a shot too early, potentially. But also with
You
the
you
right
cut
faithful, who
you
knows?
cut Lucy and Joe, and Alan's fine. Like, those are the only two who really suspect him. Celia blindly trusts Alan. We do see a lot of that. Like, I
Mhm.
reckon if we lose Joe and Lucy, Kat and Alan can win this together. I think I'm gonna say the pair of them win together.
I would be
If I'm
very
gonna make a
down with that.
prediction.
And I think
Yeah.
also the Celia point is apt because Celia just lost Steven. So Celia will be looking for someone to fully like back. And that I think is Alan. I do think that's
Yeah.
Alan. Yeah. Yeah. This has been very interesting.
Well,
So we're at final. Okay, let me do the math real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, damn, I should have counted. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so we're at 10. No, we're at 9. Great. It's in front of me and I can't count. We're at 9. We're about to be down to 8. What I was trying to ask you is, so do you think we have 2 more weeks of this then? We have 7 and 8,
we do.
episode 7 and 8, and then 9 and 10 are our last 2.
We do.
Okay.
Yes, 10
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah,
It's
that lines
exciting.
up. It is.
And I
It
think
is.
this is it the first couple of weeks, really, really exciting. This
Mhm.
week was good, but a bit slow and a bit frustrating. And as you say, like, colors of those really frustrating seasons where they can't get anything right. But I do think that these last couple of weeks are going to be thrilling. I think it's going to kick off with the inevitable Jonathan axing, and then
Mhm.
it's going to be a war between Nick and Joe, Kat and Alan, with those crucial, like, chaotic swing votes.
Mhm. Yeah, I think as of right now, the edge is on the Traitors. I think this is the Traitors' season. It's their season to lose currently. But at the same time, if like everyone else for some reason turns on Jonathan and like Kat and Alan are not part of those votes, which I feel like every indication is they will be, if like that's a situation where I could see people voting them next because they're the 2 votes that voted with Jonathan. So as long as that doesn't happen, I really think they've got an easy path to the end. But it is intriguing for the end game because it does become a game of, all right, how are you going to run this tightrope of numbers to get there? Because I do think you have the power to. And if nothing, we're going to have chaotic, loud, and wrongs to get there, which will be fun also. It felt like, I think this week there was a little bit of frustration because it was kind of run of the mill episodes, but also this felt like your last exit to get a traitor gone and have the advantage, and y'all blew it. So now we see how the Traitors win. It's kind of what I'm feeling, but I'm not mad at watching that end game.
And you know what? Kat and Alan, I'm here. I'm rooting for the gays. If those two win, I absolutely love that for me. I always go for the faithful. I'm biased, but Kat and Alan, I
Mhm.
could make an exception for you.
Annabelle, I just have to ask though, I have to go back to that Ruth thing. Do you think that was a double bluff from Jonathan?
Oh, I mean, it could have been a double bluff, but I just don't feel good about it. What about Steven is a genius?
Yeah. I
A
don't know. Anyway,
genius.
let's just banish Mark though. Like that makes the most sense to me right now.
Oh, yeah, his suspicious little Scottish accent, the little
Ugh.
kilt.
Poor Mark. Imagine being punished for your filmography. Like it's like, oh, you book
Oh,
gigs as the villain? Get out. Like,
I love
oh,
Mark so much.
yeah.
You probably didn't watch his video where he saw the traitors being revealed.
So
He was
when
so
you
angry. It was
When you brought up the edit thing, I did remember to look through the hashtag, and I do have the video put in the corner for me to watch after this, because that will be very fun. I also want to call out the moment where Joe Marler, very loud, very proud, says, "I think it's an actor," and then all the actors just kind of appeared out of thin air, and he still stood 10 toes. I was like, "It's one of you damn actors," I think. Wild. I just couldn't believe. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was great. The other iconic moment was Alan and Stephen at breakfast when Stephen goes, "Shotgun being a knight. Oh, wait." And Alan goes, "Well, it's better than an old queen." I lived for that interaction.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. And I've been very much enjoying it. I think we're going to have a very fun end to this season. And, I did say that I think this is my favorite season of the year. The first episode of Traitors Canada definitely said, hey, you might be eating that in a couple of weeks, but they're on episode 1. We're on episode 6 here. So we'll see how that all plays out.
I'm so happy to be alive at this time in Traitors universe. Like, what an amazing kickoff to Traitors season. Ireland was pretty decent. Canada and Celebrity UK are changing my life. And we still have what without competition will be the best US season yet to come. So I'm excited.
I think this is the strongest year of English-speaking Traitors we had. We're on a bit of a run right now because, like you said, Ireland had a great introduction into the franchise. US 3 for me was thus far the most fun of the 3 seasons. And then UK always delivers. We still have a season 4 of UK coming this winter, most likely. And so if Canada kicks off also, and we've got this, that we ate so well that I might be too full for US 4. And I say that very sarcastically because we know damn well I'm going to have a lot to say about that season when that kicks off. And my heart will be beating out of my mouth at that point. But we still have to get there. So
we do. It's amazing, guys. Traitors season came early this year, and aren't we glad?
Hell yeah. Well, Annabelle, I know both of us are covering Traitors Canada, myself on this very network, but let the people know where they can find your thoughts and predictions and crush lists and so on for Traitors Canada.
It's mostly my crush lists. If you're ready for some chaotic, cracked Canada coverage, non-serious dissections, you can find it over at Babes on the Brink, where I'm with Australian survivors Chili Philly chatting it up. And you can also find me on Instagram at Annabel CE. What about you, Pooya?
Well, I am talking Traitors Canada here on this very network. I talked a lot of Traitors Canada this week. We had not only the recap with Scally, me and Scally are back, ready to go, but also I interviewed Corrine, the host of Traitors Canada, all about the season. She is so excited and hyped. And if my interview with her last year was any indicator, I don't think Corrine lies to me. Because she delivers with everything she says. So I'm so hyped for this season. Episode 1 was a banger. And then I got to talk to Omer Zahir and Kevin Jacobs, both members of this season of The Traitors. We talked about episode 1 and their thoughts there. So make sure you check those out. And it's again a fun time to be a Traitors fan. But also, I'm a fan of other shows. 90 Day Fiance. I have coerced Liana into joining me for the recap this week. So we're recording this weekend. She's been sick. So it was a bit of a delay, but we're going to do that. And then Liana and I did get our first episode of The Pal since our New York trip back out today. So make sure you check that out. See what we have been up to and what's been going on in our lives. And of course, find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I'm not podcasting. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us here in our little conclave, our little turret on the internet. We'll be back next week to talk about episodes 7 and 8. But until then, y'all be good. Take care. Have a good one. And think about the double bluff. Is it really Jonathan? I think it's Mike. Bye. Sorry, Mark. Oops.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.